to the second presenter is Dr. Muhammad Thoyibi, Magister of Science. Mr. Thoyibi, are you ready? Mr. Thoyibi, are you ready?
Yes, Pak Mujazin.
Okay. The topic today is learning English literature to learn English language. Okay, time and test is yours for 20 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Mujazin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Can you hear my voice well?
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you very much. I would like to continue the discussion from Bu Endang, who had presented about independent learners or autonomous learners. To many extent, I think my subject will also be related to Bu Endang's presentation, because the subject, I think, supports supports the independent learner. Bapak Ibu, my topic is learning English literature to learn English language, and the learning objective of this presentation is first that by the end of the session, everybody, participants, will be able to understand the concept of literature. Second, will be able to choose the right literary genre. The third is able to make use of the available resources, as Bu Endang earlier stated, that everything is there in the internet, but not many are able to make use of the resources. So that is why in this presentation, I would like to support participants how to make use of the available resources in the internet. And then the fourth one is that it is expected that you will be able to use the right strategy of teaching literature. Why I set these learning objectives in this presentation, because this is actually a response to my earlier research that I conducted early this year about the difficulties faced by most teachers in teaching literature or in teaching English language. Among other problems, among other problems faced by teachers in teaching English literature, among others, are mostly students have limited vocabulary. Mostly students have limited vocabulary, 48%, and then limited teaching material. So that means limited resources available that can be used by teachers in teaching literature. And then limited comprehension, 13%. So limited vocabulary, 48%, and then limited teaching material, 21%, and then limited comprehension, 13%. And then next is limited understanding about grammar, 8%. And then low reading motivation, 6%. And then this is funny, because there are 4% of teachers saying that that they have no problems in teaching literature. I hope this is the truth, that they have no problems in teaching literature, but mostly most teachers have problems in teaching literature. As the data I'm presenting here, there are about 48% of teachers stating that the difficulty in teaching literature is because students have limited vocabulary. and then limited teaching material that is available, and then limited understanding of grammar. So limited vocabulary, limited understanding of grammar, limited comprehension, and then low reading motivation. It seems that the teacher puts the problems of teaching literature in the students, and then about 21% puts the problems in the resources. Well, we can have a discussion later, but this is the problem. That is why the objective of this presentation is to deal with, among other things, to deal with problems faced by teachers here. First, about the concept of literature. I think everybody knows which and which is not literature, or what and what is not belonging to literature. Usually we define literature, or we group literature into these literary genres, namely poetry, then fiction, drama, film, and then non-fiction. Many teachers do not consider non-fiction into literature because they think that literature is only limited to poetry, fiction, drama, and then film. Although film is actually recent genre following drama. Even some people will not consider film as a dependent genre because the only later development of film then shows that film is a different genre compared to drama. Some people still believe that film is part of drama. But non-fiction is usually not considered belonging to literature because non-fiction is something else. They think that non-fiction is something else, not belonging to literature. Well, actually, non-fiction is part of the important element in literature. Now, the problems, among other problems that people face or teachers face in schools, as my earlier finding suggested, that our students do not like reading, as suggested in the low motivation or low reading habits. Our students have low reading habits. They are not proud of reading books. They do not even read e-books. Probably some of them may still have traditional concept of books, although now the digital natives have different concept about books, and they are living with the e-books, but they still do not read e-books. The second, books are expensive. That is physical books. I mean, the printed material expensive, and many books are just unaffordable, especially for poor families. That is on the one hand. The printed books are expensive. However, when students are trying to read e-books, for example, they need device. They need a device. Let's say a good device for reading books. They need gadgets. They need their cell phone in order to be able to read books. And then the next is our librarians are not sufficient. Our libraries are not sufficient to provide books for everybody. Our libraries fail to serve as alternative places of creation. Recreation, in many countries, particularly developed countries, libraries are among other interesting places for recreation, but not in our country. Library is not, is not one of the tourist destiny. no, recreation destiny. Many people, many young people, particularly, prefer to go to malls and other shopping or department stores compared to visiting libraries. And then the next is a question for us, whether we are challenged to make change. Have we made enough attempts to change the condition? That is a kind of a challenge for us, for everybody. Probably we need to what select the right material in order to improve the reading condition, and we need to introduce our children to reading as early as possible, so that reading is part of their lives. And it is okay that some children may like reading from early childhood, but some of them, even after they become adult, they never read books. And then probably we need also to consider that instead of reading, because we have different learning style, as Bu Endang earlier stated, that people may have different learning style, and to those who belong to the auditory groups may prefer to have or to listen to audiobooks rather than reading printed material. Okay. The next is I like to show you to some resources that we can access, that we can use to enrich our learning, our classrooms, namely from this, for example, from loyalbooks.com. We have free books. We can download many good books, especially classic literatures that we can download freely. So this can be materials to enrich our classrooms. Among other things, for example, that we can find in this website is The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, and then Anne of Green Gables, and then many other free books belonging to teen literature or young adult literature. As I learned that many of you are teaching in senior schools and also in junior high school, so selecting the proper genre of literature is very important. And then the next is still from the royal books. For example, this one, Huckleberry Finn, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. So we can download, and we can use it as a support to students, so that they will have a good reading habit. And then from open culture, for example, in open culture, we do not only have printed materials, but also audiobooks. So we can download audiobooks freely. Yeah. In teaching, of course, audiobooks are very important, particularly to teach auditory or listening, so that our students will be able to make use of these audiobooks for their reading, for their listening, for their learning literature. And these audiobooks can be downloaded or consist of many different levels, even from the first grade. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
5 minutes.
Okay. Thank you very much. 5 minutes. I think 5 minutes is enough. So we can download these free audio books from even from the first grade to 8th grade, and also the full version. This is the type of audio books that we can play. So Aesop, for example, we have many different parts of the book, and we can play the audio from part to part, so that we can choose which part we want to listen. Okay. Also this one. I think selecting the best materials is very important. Either fiction, poetry, drama, film, and also the non-fiction, which has not been dealt with by many teachers. Let me jump to discussion. I think this is very important. That according to law 1988, children who receive increased exposure to literature are more able to identify story themes. Repeated experience with literature enables them to respond in more sophisticated ways to books. Similarly, Aesop 1983 found that children who read higher quality literature use more complex and elaborate literary styles in their own writing than those who read basal texts that use simplified sentence structures. And then studies conducted by Lancia, DeFord, and Dress also found that children exposed to high quality literature were more likely to show this influence in their own writing than were children exposed to writing of lesser quality. These benefits were not confined to beginning readers, but also span the elementary grades. So in many ways, it is very wide, that learning literature contribute to the learning English language in many ways. I think that is all for Mujazin. We can have a discussion later. Actually, I have prepared 38 slides, but only some slides I can present. Thank you very much, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, thanks Mr. Thoyibi for the presentations about learning English literature to learn English language. Okay, I'm sure also that all of the participants here want to ask many things.